As we said, our crew Julia, Casey, and Steve were on the ground in Ohio for the 4th Democratic debate. And after a long day of pre-debate run-up and then a 3-hour debate, our team went over to the spin room where the candidates continued their campaigns, this time in front of the press.
Here's some of what the 2020 Democrats had to say very early this morning. Let's take a look.
When we're on the subject of the role of big tech, and when we're on the subject of what should be big tech's responsibility and accountability for their business model and the impact of what they do, we have to understand that Donald Trump, with 65 Twitter followers, has used his platform in a way that has been about intimidating and threatening witnesses, has been in a way that is about obstructing justice, including even threatening members of Congress.
No, she didn't answer the question that was posed to her. And I think it's really important that especially those in the middle class, or those who aspire to be in the middle class, know whether or not she will impose a tax increase on them. She repeatedly refused to answer the question. In my administration, if you make $250,000 as a family or less, you will not see a tax increase in any year of my administration. It's important for people to know that. They are working so hard right now. They need to know that they do not face a tax increase under my administration. Under a Warren administration, it is unclear right now. She refused to answer the question.
I've seen this play before. I saw it in 2016 on how people kept on having Donald Trump tell lies. It would literally lead the news, his lies, giving him more oxygen, more attention to the detriment of truth, of democracy, and our candidate for president. So I'm not letting this happen. I don't care if it's Joe Biden or Castro or Yang. I'm going to be one of these people that calls this out. And tonight, it was unacceptable to me that literally the second issue, before we got into issues of healthcare, before we got issues of child poverty, women's reproductive rights, we were repeating Donald Trump lies that have been debunked before.
Interesting. Cory Booker there making the case hard to be Biden's VP, I think. Interesting. I mean, on the stage, he defended him as a statesman. I mean, look.
Good Lord.
There are conspiracy theories about Hunter Biden that go way beyond what the facts are, but Hunter Biden himself yesterday morning admitted that, it wasn't a great look, that he didn't get there without using the Biden last name, that it was quote unquote a swamp. So anyway, interesting play by Cory and by many of the other candidates to basically cover for Joe.
Yeah, I think it's such a disaster. Over and over again, if you refuse to have these fights now, they're going to come up in the general election. And that's why I was so heartened by Bernie's attack on Joe Biden. Like, if you think that Trump ran against Joe Biden, you don't think we're going to hear all day about NAFTA, TPP, and Iraq, which we should, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you are the person who wants to be president, then you need to make the case on your record. I think that Cory Booker attack is so weak, and it's just this unity BS that they continue to use over and over again. Overall, it was interesting to see some of those packages, but Cory's line is just such an establishmentarian way of thinking, and I think that's why he's losing, and he's going to be out of this race real soon.
Yeah, well, obviously he's trying to work on his backup plan there to maybe
How much
be
cash
in
does
the,
he
in
have
the
on
VP.
hand, right? He's got $4.2 million in the bank. Actually, not that bad compared to Joe Biden. He's got $9 million.
half of Biden's amount basically there. We also had in that package Beto talking a little bit about Elizabeth Warren specifically on Medicare for All. And look, I think, every single debate and almost every interview she does, somebody tries to get her to say, gonna raise middle class taxes, right? This has become a thing. And I do have to say, she comes off as kind of calculated and evasive at this point in the answer. Like, they're not going to leave you alone until you just say how you actually are going to pay for it. And maybe you're going to pay for it in a different way than Bernie Sanders. Interestingly, Warren hasn't released her own healthcare plan. She just says I'm with Bernie on the one hand, then she says it's a framework and the details need to be filled in on the other hand, but she hasn't released her own plan, so she could pay for it in a different way. She's got to fill in those blanks, or this is just going to continue.
This is where I have to disagree with Adam Green, where he's like, oh, she's with Bernie and like that's enough. It's like, no. And Zaid Jilani, he talks about this endlessly. He's like, look, she has a plan for literally everything, the minute details of how to pay for like trade adjustment assistance, and not for her signature healthcare proposal, which is gonna cost X trillion dollars. That is crazy. I mean, you can't stay up there and have this whole strategy of I'm going to be a savvy politician who denies the Republicans a soundbite. You look evasive. People want honesty. That's all they want. They want honesty. And it's just not a good look.
Yeah. I mean, look, Trump's going to have plenty enough talking points. Don't worry about it. He'll find plenty of things to run on if you're the nominee. I think that's right. And it's also, look, she's changed her position on this issue.
Yeah, exactly,
she wasn't for single payer when she ran for Senate.
Yeah, not even back as recently as 2012.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, she calls it a framework, but won't fill in the details. I think it's legitimate to push her on this, even though it does get a little bit tiresome to hear the same questions over and over in this debate. How did you think CNN did on this debate?
Oh,
Cassie?
God, everybody
Pitch
knows
you a
how-
softball.
Yeah, thank you. They were so terrible. I mean, the programming decision of CNN was a disgrace for so many of us who were watching this debate. I mean, 15 minutes on impeachment, that huge
area where they all agree.
Literally an area where they do not disagree whatsoever.
Right.
All this time on gun control, a manufactured battle between Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard wants to hit Elizabeth Warren. Oh, no. That's time for commercial break. For an entire foreign policy section about Vladimir Putin, once again, where the entire stage disagrees. And it's just one of those things where not a single question about China, not a single question about the NBA and what was happening there.
Nothing on immigration.
Nothing on immigration.
Nothing on climate change.
And even on Iraq. I mean, foreign policy, you have one of the front runners of the Democratic race who voted and championed for the Iraq war, and Bernie Sanders is the one who has to ask him about that, all while you have this bizarre thing about the health of the three leading candidates. I thought the whole thing was gauche.
It was very ageist, that thing.
And here's the thing. I'm not saying that it isn't a legitimate line of inquiry, but it was ham-fisted. The way they do it was weird. And overall, their programming decisions for the night were terrible. I mean, 15 minutes for closing statements about friendship. I mean, what the hell? 50 about friendship? That's what we have to talk about right now? I couldn't believe, I slammed my laptop shut and I was like, I can't take this blank anymore.
Saagar is very anti-friendship.
I'm mad.
I don't know if you know that. Thank you again for joining us today. Thank you for joining us last night. We had a blast doing it, and we will certainly be doing it again.
Incredible. Can't wait to do it again with all of you. Tomorrow on Rising, we have Michigan Congressman Andy Levin live from Capitol Hill. Gives us his take on the UAW strike in Detroit, and he's going to react to Tuesday night's debate.
Excited about that, and also excited to have Rashad Robinson. He's going to share insights into how the 2020 contenders are relating to African Americans and what his Color of Change PAC is doing to change the dynamic in black politics. That'll be a great interview as well.
Yeah,
Have a great day, guys. Rest up. We'll be back here tomorrow morning. See you then.
See you tomorrow.